Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon to everyone. Before we proceed to the next sessions, to ensure the effectiveness of this virtual conference, I would like to get your feedback regarding the quality of the visuals and audio of this conference. Kindly respond by letting me know if there is anything that we need to improve or attend to. To show the respect and as a sign of our appreciations to the speaker, please silence your phone and mute your speaker during the session. Our invited speakers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to be here as a moderator for I-CReST Virtual Conference 2025. I will moderate this invited speech session 2. My name is Chemist Dr. Hussein Haniba from Center of Foundation Study, University Technology Mara, Malaysia. On behalf of the organizing committee, we wish to extend our warm welcome, Selamat Datang, and thank you to all participants, guests of honor, delegates, and representatives from the participating institutions, foreign and local participants to our fifth I-CReST Virtual Conference 2025, organized by Center of Foundation Study, University Technology Mara, Cawangan Selangor, Campus Dengkil. This year's conference is even more meaningful for all of us at the Center of Foundation Study, as this online academic gathering is made possible through the collaborations with the Ibn Sina Institute for Scientific and Industrial Research, University Technology Malaysia, UTM. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we are grateful that the conference is joined by nearly 160 participants ranging from researchers, industrial experts, and professionals. Esteemed participants are gathered here today to share their latest research finding and to share their knowledge and expertise on the science, technology, and the social science. It is a hope that the newly gained knowledge from this conference will be able to contribute to the betterment of the industrial and society as a whole. Excellency and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to invite our first speaker for today's sessions, Associate Professor T.S. Dr. Muhammad Nur Azlan Abdul Aziz from the Faculty of Science and Mathematics, University Pendidikan Sultan Idris UPSI. Let me introduce shortly regarding our panel. Here, he has been graduated from the Ijazah Doctor Falsafah from the field of the physics from University Putra Malaysia by the year of 2016, and has actively doing a research on the particular area, research area of a physics, advanced material coating technology, throughout, and also publish a lot of international publications with a high impact factors, supervise local and international postgraduate students, has been awarded a lot of the outstanding achievement and also innovations throughout the career development. And also we are very proud that the doctor Muhammad Nur Azlan will present today with the title of Elucidating the Effects of a New Dynamics Nanoparticles on the Jute of Felt and Optical Parameters on a zinc telluride glass for the fiber glasses. So without further ado, I would like to invite our speaker for today.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, doctor.
Okay, so let me share my slide first, okay, before I present my work. Okay, okay, so I do believe you can see my slide on the screen.
Yes, doctor.
Okay, so today I will present. There is a big change. It is the same as the initial title that has been informed by the chairman. So first of all, I would like to give thanks, thank you to University Technology Mara for inviting me as a keynote speaker for today. So my name is Associate Professor Technologist Dr. Muhammad Nur Razlan Abdul Aziz, and I work with University Pendidikan Sultan Idris, or Sultan Idris Education University. Okay, so today I will present my work at my university entitled Elucidating the Effects of Rare Earth Ions in Telluride Glass Coated with GO on Optical Properties for Advanced Solid State Lasers. Okay, so before I proceed with my presentation, so let me introduce about my performance and my current work in research. Okay, so this is my Scopus profile. Okay, so you can visit my Scopus profile if you want to collaborate with our laboratory or our research center. You are welcome to do so. Okay, so let me introduce about UPSI a bit. Okay, before I proceed with my presentations. So UPSI, we have three campuses. The first one is campus Sultan Abdul Jalil Shah. The second campus is Sultan Azlan Shah, and the third campus is still under development, which is campus Teluk Intan. Okay, so currently we have two established campuses. Okay, so my faculty is located at campus Sultan Azlan Shah and located in Tanjung Malim, just 1 hour from Kuala Lumpur. So my university, we have about 10 faculties, okay, with a broad subject. We have a faculty of language, faculty of science, music, technical and vocational, human development, management, economics, human sciences, art, sustainability, sports, computing, okay, and we have about 10 faculties. And the 11th is the Institute of Graduate Studies for master and PhD studies. Okay, so this is the overview about on our campus and our facilities available in our campus. So if you want to visit to our campus, we have our own hotel, which is a scholar suites. Okay, you can stay there maybe for some activities. We have a Upsi Adventure Park, Sports City, and Digital Library. Okay, so this is our performance in QS and THE World University ranking. So for THE World University ranking, we have been ranked top 600 in the world. Okay, for by subject education, 151 in the world and 71 in the world, because we are focus university, and our main focus is in education. So we so that's why we show you about our performance, the QS and DHE by subject education. Okay, so let me begin with my presentations. So my work in my university is all about glass. Okay, so glass is a type of material. Okay, but it can be distinguished with crystalline material. Okay, for glass, the structure is amorphous or non-crystalline. Okay, so this is the distinguished properties or the difference between glass material and crystalline material. For glass material, okay, the structure, the atomic structure, the molecular structure is all in disorder. Okay, it is not in order, so it is in disorder. So that's why this type of structure we call it as amorphous or non-crystalline solid material. Okay, so to form glass, so there are some materials that are needed. Okay, so we need glass former. Okay, for example, telluride oxide, silicate oxide, which is the common materials used in optical fiber, okay, and in opto communication materials and so on. And then we need the glass intermediate or glass modifier to ensure, okay, the formation of the glass can be done during the glass making. Okay, so for my work, we chose telluride oxide as the glass former, as the backbone of the glass. Why? Because telluride glass has high refractive index, okay, which is in the range of 2.0 to 2.5. Okay, it has a good solubility with rare earth ions and low melting point, okay, to produce glass, which is can be we can use about 700 degrees Celsius to melt the telluride oxide and to form glass. Okay, so for my work, okay, we use this kind of glass system, which is boro telluride glass, and the zinc boro is actually the modifiers. okay, to allow the formation of glass system. And then the telluride is the backbone or the glass former, the main host of the glass material. Okay, so we didn't use silicate because silicate has high melting temperature. So we need to melt the silicate oxide about 1500 degrees Celsius. So we chose telluride because we can reduce the melting point, so it can save energy, so and glass can be easily formed, okay, with the combination of the modifiers and the rare earth ions. Okay, so in in our work in our laboratory, so we didn't just produce glass, but we coat the glass with the reduced graphene oxide and carbon nanotubes and the graphene oxide itself, because this material have the ability to tune the optical properties of the glass system. Okay, and we can easily produce the GO and RGO using the chemical exfoliation process. Okay, to produce the graphene oxide, and to produce the reduced graphene oxide we use chemical reductive exfoliation process. Okay, to obtain RGO near to the graphene, pure graphene materials. Okay, and we also use the carbon nanotubes, okay, to tune the optical properties of the glass system. Okay, so this is our main composition of our glass system. Okay, so we use telluride oxide, boron oxide, and zinc oxide. So why we choose boron oxide and zinc oxide? Boron oxide is to improve, okay, the strength of the glass, okay, to improve the mechanical properties of the glass. While the zinc oxide, we use the zinc oxide to reduce the melting point. Okay, and for this case we use neodymium. Okay, we chose neodymium as our dopant, okay, to improve and to increase the optical properties of the glass material. So we can use many types of rare earth ions, okay, available in the lanthanide groups, which is erbium oxide, promethium oxide, samarium oxide, holmium oxide, and many more. Okay, but depends on our directions. Okay, because different rare earth ions will give you different types of application. Okay, so for my aim, okay, we chose neodymium because we want to apply this material, okay, for solid state laser. Okay, so that's why we choose neodymium oxide as our dopant. So to produce glass, we can use a simple method, okay, easy to produce, which is the melt quench technique. Okay, so at the first start, we need all the raw material, the powder form of oxides, okay, for all components that we have established in during chemical composition that we have determined. Okay, and then we weigh all the raw materials, and then we mix all the raw material in the crucible. Okay, you can use platinum or you can use aluminum uh, crucible. Okay, but if you want a pure glass without any contamination from the crucible itself, okay, we need to use the platinum crucible. Okay, and platinum crucible can give you the purest form of glass material. Okay, and then after we weigh all the raw material, and then we go to the preheating process, and then the melting process. Okay, we use a 900 degrees Celsius, okay, for 2 hours, and then we quench the molten on the stainless steel plate. Okay, and then we go to the annealing process, and lastly the polishing process. After we have obtained the glass, okay, we can coat, okay, the glass material, okay, using a simple spray coating technique. Okay, and then we go for the annealing process. Okay, so this is the example, okay, or the infographic of the produced glass material. Okay, and then we deposit the graphene oxide on top of the glass material. Okay, and the right side is actually the example of the product, okay, that we have produced in our laboratory. So this is the current ongoing project in our laboratory. So we produce our own solid state laser material, which is the glass, the YAG glass rod, okay, which is useful for laser system. Okay, so this is the glass rod that we produce in our laboratory. Okay, so we dope the glass system with the neodymium. Okay, and the neodymium will give the purple color for the glass material. Okay, and for this glass rod we can sell to the in the market. Okay, but it will be more cheaper, okay, and less complicated process to produce the laser, the glass, laser glass. Okay, and we can use the glass rod in the laser system. So this is the laser cavity setup, okay, to produce high power laser or high energy laser. Okay, and to produce laser we need optical pumping system. Okay, and the optical pumping system we need the glass rod. Okay, currently in the market we use the YAG crystal laser rod, okay, which is much expensive. And to produce the YAG crystal rod, okay, laser rod, okay, so the process is quite complicated. It's not easy to produce, okay, but if we can exchange, okay, in our laboratory we change the rod into glass, so it will become more easier to produce, okay, and the price will be uh, much cheaper than the current YAG crystal laser rod. Okay, so this is ongoing project, okay, with our ministry, higher education ministry. Okay, so we will commercialize this product by the end of next year. Okay, so another project that we are proposed in the future is the glass battery. Okay, and currently in battery we use a liquid electrolyte. Okay, but the problem with the liquid electrolyte, it is quite toxic and highly flammable. Okay, so if we apply the current available battery in car, okay, if the accident happen or maybe in a high temperature region, so the battery can easily explode. And it has been recorded several cases happen when the EV car explode due to the battery. So we change the liquid electrolyte to solid electrolyte by using glass. Okay, so this is ongoing project. Okay, we are still uh, explore, okay, and research about these things. Okay, so if you want to collaborate with us, you are welcome to do so, and please do contact me, okay, for further collaboration. So this is the paper that we have published. Okay, we want to see the potential of the toluene glass as high energy capacitor, and the result is quite promising. Okay, in the future we will try to apply this type of material for glass battery. Okay, so when we coat the glass with the graphene oxide, okay, so we can see the morphology using the FISAM study. Okay, so we can see the agglomerations, okay, on top of the glass, okay, and the agglomeration is actually due to the spray technique that we use, okay, during the annealing process, and also during the exfoliation technique. Okay, so that's why we can see some agglomerated layers on top of the glass material, okay, due to the agglomeration of the graphene oxide. So this is the result for the UV visible spectra. This result is very important, especially if you want to estimate whether the materials is suitable for solid state solid state laser. Okay, so from the spectra we can see several of assumptions. Okay, means at certain wavelength or at certain frequency, the ions or the neodymium ions absorb the photon energy. Okay, so we can see several type of absorption appear on the UVB spectrum. Okay, so this information is very important, okay, because we can estimate at which region or at which range of the visible, okay, does the ions emit photon energy. Okay, and we can use the Judd-Felt technique to estimate, and also we can use the photoluminescence to see where the ion emit the photon energy. Okay, and we can actually determine the optical band gap. Okay, when we coat the glass with the RGO, we can see the reduction of the optical band gap, okay, due to the properties of the graphene itself, okay, that reduce the optical band gap of the glass system. So this is the refractive index. Okay, so you can see most of the glass samples, okay, can achieve refractive index 1.9 and above. Okay, and this value is very important, especially if we want to apply for optical fiber in the clad core. Okay, so we use the Judd-Ophelt analysis to estimate where the emission will occur in the visible range. Okay, by using the UV visible spectra, we can estimate, okay, where the emission will occur in the visible range by using the Judd-Ophelt analysis. So Judd-Ophelt analysis is actually founded by two scientists, which is Judd and Ophelt in 1962. Okay, so they established this kind of analysis, okay, to determine um how the ions interact with the host material of the glass system. Okay, so when we dope the material with rare earth ions, so we want to see how the ions actually interact with the materials. So what kind of environment does it occur, and what kind of bonding, okay, between the ions and the material itself. Okay, so from the results, we can also determine the optical parameter, which is the Judd-Ophelt parameters, okay, which is ohm 2, ohm 6, and ohm 4. Okay, different ohm can give us some insight or overview, okay, how the ions become more covalent or become more ionic, okay, and from this value we can also determine the branching ratio, okay, the branching ratio, okay, from the value we can see that it is strong, okay, at 522 nanometer, okay, and the value is 0.9 to 0.97. Okay, so this value indicate that this material, okay, can produce a green laser, which is 5 to 2 nanometer. So we don't have to use the photoluminescence. We can estimate using the Judd-Ophelt analysis. By using the value of the branching ratio, we can see it is in between 0.9 and 0.97, indicating strong green emission. And we can prove, okay, this analysis using the photoluminescence later on. Okay, and we can also determine the radiative lifetime, means which is how long does the ions emit the photon energy. Okay, is it in millisecond, is it in microsecond, in nanoseconds, okay, which is useful, okay, to determine the picoseconds laser and so on. Okay, so we can also determine the radiative lifetime for the emission using the Judd-Ophelt analysis. So this is the photoluminescence that we have determined. Okay, so uh, okay, using the excitations of the 800. Okay, so from the result we can actually prove that the glass is actually emit at the green emission. Okay, so this is another kind of article that we have published, okay, in Journal of Inorganic and Organometallic Polymers and Material in 2021. Okay, you can read and you can check, okay, this article. Maybe it is useful, okay, for you, and if you are interested in solid state laser or photonic material, okay, or quantum together. So this is another paper that we have published, emission, application in quantitative parameters for erbium oxide doped fluoride glass for laser glass. Okay, so that's all I think. Okay, for overview and some results that I have shared with you. Okay, so if you have any other questions, okay, you can directly ask me. And if you are interested, okay, in the field of solid state laser or glass material or glass ceramics, okay, so you are welcome to contact me. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for en- enlightening us with the interesting speech. Now I open the session for the question and answer. Maybe, Doctor, before we are waiting for questions, I'm quite interested with the your presentation, especially about the material you mentioned earlier. Especially when I look at one of your slide, you mentioned about the different compositions of the material to for this fabricating the glass. Am I right? Yes, just my question is, when you're talking for the different compositions, may I know is already calibrated at that particular range of concentrations, or we are actually are still doing with the other range of concentration as well, composition?
Okay, if you want to make a composition from scratch, means that you didn't know whether this kind of composition can produce glass or it cannot produce glass. So we need to do some try and error with the composition. First, we need to establish the composition, and then we need to try to make glass. If the glass cannot be formed, means that the composition is not suitable. But we cannot directly say that, oh, because of the composition, the glass is not formed. It can be other type of reasons. Maybe the first one, the melting temperature is not suitable. Okay, the melting temperature is not suitable. The second one, maybe when we mix the raw material with the wrong crucible. Okay, for example, if we use the alumina crucible, so the aluminium, okay, will be inside the raw material, so there will be some contaminations. Okay, so it can be to that reason. Okay, so we need to change to the platinum crucible. Okay, so we can get pure glass material. Okay, and maybe and another kind of reason, the compatibility of the material is not suitable. Okay, for example, let me share with you. Last time I tried to produce a binary glass, okay, telluride and titanium. Okay, only with these two components. Okay, but I cannot produce glass. Okay, so I try to change the composition and so on, but I can say that the material is not compatible with one another. Okay, it's not compatible. So when we discuss with our team, so we need another kind of modifier. Okay, we need another kind of material that can actually form the glass between telluride and titanium. Okay, so these two material cannot form glass. So maybe we need to add like sodium or any other kind of material. Okay, unless the composition has been established in literature. So yes, we can say, yeah, it might possible to produce. If it is from scratch, so we need to do it try and error. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for that. Very get something better, get an idea of the composition itself about the materials. But Doctor, there is one more questions. They are asking about what are the challenges still need to be addressed before these materials, which is the doped with the zinc telluride glasses, can be widely applied in a commercial fiber lasers.
Okay, so let me share with you about my research. So my research began in 2018. Okay, so I start to use neodymium because in the market, okay, for the laser rod, they use neodymium as a dopant in YAG crystal. Okay, they use neodymium to pump laser in the laser system. Okay, but the problem is the kind of material that they use is crystal. It's in a crystal form. It is not amorphous. But to produce the YAG crystal is not that easy. The process is complicated. Okay, so we try to change, okay, the material with glass, because glass is easily to produce. We can just use the melt quench technique. So I try to dope the neodymium in glass material, and then we do some experiments. We do some PL, photoluminescence analysis, UV visible analysis, and now we are buying a new laser system. Okay, so we have actually produced the prototype. Okay, the prototype of the neodymium, okay, doped with the glass uh, uh, laser rod. Okay, so we will try and see the performance in the laser system. Okay, and then we will check how much cost does it uh, incurs, okay, when we produce the glass material. How long does it will perform? Okay, maybe it can give you some quite good performance, but how long it can withstand, okay, with the operating system? Okay, maybe it can just withstand for 1 hour, but in the market the laser rod can withstand up to 10 hours. So if we check if the performance cannot go up to 10 hours at least, so the prototype is a failure. Okay, so that's why we need to do some several tests, and we need to do some pilot tests, okay, and produce our own prototype, check the performance in the industry. So then after that we can confirm that our prototype or our laser rod can be useful in the market, and then we can commercialize the product. Okay, but the output from our research, we can say that the laser rod that we have produced can reduce the cost much cheaper than the current YAG crystal. Okay, but now we are in the stage of testing the prototype in the industrial environment. We want to test the prototype by our own laser system, and then we need to see how long it can withstand. So what is the performance? Is it similar with that we have in the current market? So our aim, it must be near, the performance must near to what available in the market, or else so people won't buy it. The industry won't buy it because they can buy laser, the current available in the market with high performance status. Okay, so we can confirm the price is reduced, okay, cheaper in the as when we compare that what available in the market. But now we are on the stage testing the prototype. Yeah.
Thank you, Doctor, for the detailed explanations. So we can conclude the main challenges will be the costing is the main of the factor, and still in a prototype. So it takes some time to developments to a better application, a wider applications. That's a very good presentations, Doctor. So thank you very much, Doctor, for the presentations and for the question and answer session as well, for your the sharing of the idea and knowledge. Thank you again, Doctor. Excellency and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. So we come to our second presenter today for these sessions. So without further I'd like to invite our second presenter, Dr. Ahmad Faisal Azhar, the Faculty of Law from the Universitas Islam Bandung, Unisba. So let me introduce a bit on the our speaker for today. To get a formal educations since 2019 or graduate with the PhD qualifications, and also have a wide experience in the workings at a different area of this research, and have a wide number of the publications for international and locals. I believe Doctor also have publications and high impact publications and supervise and postgraduate and undergraduate. So for today's presentations, Dr. Ahmad Faisal will present with the titles of Islamic Inheritance Law as a framework for the intergenerational justice and sustainable family wealth distributions. Please welcome Dr.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hussein Hanibah, for your time. And I would like to thank to the committee who has invited me in this occasional I-CReST. Uh, Alhamdulillah, thank you for invitation. And I introduce myself. My name is Ahmad Faisal Adha. I am from Faculty of Law, Unisba, Universitas Islam Bandung, which is located in Bandung, in Indonesia, West Java. Uh, and I would like to share my some research. Sorry. Okay. I would like to presentation about Islamic Inheritance Law as a framework for intergenerational justice. This research uh, is come from several questions with most people avoid to talking about inheritance law. They call if we talk about inheritance law, we must do is a cultural taboo, or may it come with family conflict, or may it come with emotional factors. And I don't and
Doctor, if you
yes,
don't mind, can you put the PowerPoint in the presentation mode?
okay.
Slideshow mode.
If you could please, I have sent my presentation. I'm sorry.
Wait, Doctor. Just give me a second, Doctor.
Okay, and then you still with Google Meet. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's okay, Doctor. So,
And from that several question, inheritance is taboo for some people, and I very interesting to talk about inheritance. Then my title today is Islamic Inheritance Law as a framework for intergenerational justice as sustainable family wealth distribution. Dr. Hussein, ready?
just a moment, Doctor. We are projecting the slide.
Okay, thank you so
Okay,
much.
okay, Doctor. Yeah,
Thank you so much.
got it.
Next slide. For it is a world distribution system in generating law, ethics, and spirituality. And this is come from Muslim community, which is have a powerful with a powerful uh, framework for Muslim community. So then it ensure justice among heirs, including women and vulnerable groups, and it's relevant to contemporary issues, sustainability, and intergenerational justice. Next slide. Related cases in Indonesia, we see in this table many dispute of there are 10 dispute from this table we can see how many people use Islamic law, how many people use civil code, how many people use indigenous law. Then is many people in Indonesia, they are converting to Muslim, but they are not use Islamic law. But Alhamdulillah, in Indonesia we have KHI, Kompilasi Hukum Islam, and then many dispute come with KHI. We have seen today daughter excluded from inheritance by brother, and outcome court upheld the 2.1 rule, but emphasized that women cannot be coerced into relinquishing their shares. And more, male has demanded 2 and 1 distribution of joint property, could divide property equally using Sharia reasoning. And maybe the last, two sister challenged brother of monopoly over asset, and court upheld the rights under KHI, NGO support, and short enforcement. And then we can see how inheritance law in Indonesia is pluralist, and many of them use Muslim use Islamic law. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. So the next slide. Okay. For this title, I have 4 points. The first is Faraid and intergenerational justice. It provides fixed share, fairness, and transparency. We can see in Islamic law, Faraid come with fixed shares. And if we see the civil code, it fixed rate, but it's equal. But it's not equal by their job and their hak and kewajiban. And it prevents family monopolies and inheritance disputes, encourage collective and ownership and shared responsibility. It contributes to family and community economic balance. Okay, next slide. The second point, its contribution to SDGs. We see in inheritance law, it contribute to SDG 5, women's inheritance right, economic empowerment. As we know, before Islam come to this world, women don't receive the inheritance, and after Islam come to our world, women give their inheritance. And for SDG 10, reducing economic gaps across generation, we have seen the fixed shares in Islamic law. It reducing the economic gaps across the generation. The Our parents can give their inheritance, and our son or our daughter give their inheritance, and our wife or our husband it give inheritance, and is intergenerational justice for SDGs 10 disease. And it promotes an inclusive or just society. Next slide. Wealth circulation and social harmony. The third point is for it encourage circulation of wealth and productive investment. Many people today they don't have only the money, but they also have cryptocurrency or maybe Bitcoin or others. This productive investment for next future. And inheritance law is applicable for that challenges. And inheritance reduce inheritance conflict, like we see in other country or other religion. I apologize. May they have a conflict with the inheritance particular. But in Islamic law, reduce inheritance conflict and strengthens family harmony. And the third, build solidarity and mutual trust among heirs. And the fourth, positive impact on both micro and macro economic levels. Next slide. The last point in my presentation is challenges and opportunities in the modern era. Like digital asset, coexistence with secular laws, transactional families. This is challenges for inheritance law today. And opportunities, digital wills. If the people know about inheritance law as well, they will do the inheritance as good. Yeah. And also in blockchain based inheritance or automated distribution, it's maybe become a work for the family. And the last solution, legal harmonization, public education, and technological adaptation. This is the challenges and opportunities in the modern era for in Islamic inheritance law. Next. And the conclusion, Faraid is a fair, inclusive, and sustainable inheritance framework. And the second, aligned with SDGs, gender equality and reduces inequalities, SDG 5 and SDG 10. and also integration with modern technology enhance applicability. And the last, follow it as a model of sustainable inheritance law for the future. This is my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for the presentation. So it's a very interesting. I do get some points from the presentation, especially, Doctor. If you don't mind, if you can share with us some explain how the women's inheritance right in Farahid contribute to the achievements of a SDG 5, the gender equality is actually.
Okay, for the gender equality SDG 5, inheritance law, especially Islamic inheritance law, it's come with the equality for the woman. Uh, as we know in Falsafat Tashri, an Islamic scholar tell to us with the great responsibility in inheritance, it with great with the great power. Maybe with the great portion in inheritance law for the man, it's come with a great responsibility to the man, and less portion for the women, for the woman, for the inheritance. It come with less responsibility. It is the fact. But today we see the most people who come with job is woman, and the people of the man is laziness. And also we see I have some research in Bogor. There is indigenous village in indigenous village that Islamic law is ruled by the chief of the village, and the chief of village dispute that the women can give the two portion and one portion for the men. Because of what? Because the women they are strength in struggle in their work, and for the men they are lazy for the work, and because of that the portion is changeable. Yeah, but it is fault. Yeah. But if we see to the SDG 5, we see the history before Islam come to this world. The woman don't have inheritance, but after Islam come to our world, women have the inheritance, the one portion of that. But if we see the further, if we see Islamic is inheritance law, the woman they don't just have one portion. Yeah. As a daughter, they have half of the uh, harta, and half of harta, and also from the parents they gave, they have, from the husband they have, and from the child they have. It's also for the women is equality for in inheritance. It,
Doctor, just wondering, one of my personal as well. I'd like to know detail about this law. How well this because we, as we know, Indonesia is such a huge country, big country. So how well this been applied equally among the different state of the Indonesia itself? Because I believe they do have a different law and a specific state, and also understand is that equally applied throughout the entire Indonesia?
I'm sorry, can you repeat
It,
the
it
question?
mean is this law have been applied equally to entire Indonesia? How well this been practiced?
This will practice in Muslim community also, and in this Indonesia there are 6 religion, and every religion has their inheritance law, especially in Muslim. I have researched for West Java only. It's 70% application of Islamic law is good, but the last of them, the 30% of them is not use the Islamic law for.
Okay, doctor. I do understand on that part. Just one more question though. I think a lot of them are quite interested with your these presentations. They are very keen to know more about it. So one of the thing the one of the our audience asks is, what is the relationship between the Farahid and economic balance within the families and the communities?
The economic balance is come with the Islamic Inheritance Law, because our scholar, Islamic scholar said in Falsafatul Tashri, like we see in, if you love Marvel film or movie, there is a question. There's Spider-Man is with a great responsibility, comes with a great power, and if we combined with the Islamic inheritance law, our scholar is tell to us that the Islamic portion in Islam, it come with a great responsibility. If men have a great portion, two portion in Islamic inheritance law, it's that the man must think. How about the responsibility? So his responsibility to his family, how his responsibility to his wife, how his responsibility to his daughter, how his responsibility to his parent, and how his responsibility to his entire family, and also his community. If every person, the Muslim, do the Islamic inheritance law, also the economic balances in their community, inshallah, that is very good. But we seen today that the people, they don't know about Islamic inheritance law. They just uh, give the inheritance like equal, the man one portion and the woman one portion. It's not fair, because the portion in Islam, it's great, it's come with a great responsibility behind of it. Okay.
Thank you, Doctor. That's a very clear one. So that's a quite detailed explanation, in fact, about your presentations, and also the question and answers are very detailed. I think our audience love the information that you have given, and I believe our audience also learned something new, because I believe we are from here, especially from Malaysia, our law a bit on this might be similar and also different. That's why this really and comparisons look very interesting for all of us. So again, Doctor, thank you so much for the wonderful presentations and sharing of the idea and the knowledge. We really appreciate that. Again, thank you so much, Doctor.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, for the continue with the sessions. The evening just got get more interesting with our speakers. Okay, so I would like to, without waste out any further times, I would like to invite our third speaker. I think Dr. Suraya, the Deputy Director, Data Management and Artificial Intelligence Center, DARTIC, University Malaysia Sabah. Let me introduce her a bit on the achievement. Of course, Doctor have outstanding achievements. I will say she graduated from a PhD from University Science Malaysia 2018 with this, the area of the research. I will say the computer science, and also she have actively involved in consultations and also a lot of the internal and external networking that's beyond a lot of outstanding works have been achieved, and she has actively doctor have actively published a lot of high impact publications, not only for the local publications and also at the international publications. I can say more than 20 publication has been published, and this is not excluded without exclude with the book titles has been published as well. And of course, actively supervising and teaching students at a different level and be awarded a lot of locals and also international awards, and also a prestige grants has been entitled by Doctor. So today's presentation, Dr. Suraya alias, we are going to present with the interesting title. I say it's a current issue, which is beyond data, synergizing AI and humanities for a sustainable future. Doctor, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you for the I-CReST committee members. My name is Suraya Alias from Data Management and AI Artificial Center, UMS, Sabah. Okay, I will share my screen now. Okay, do I have a full screen?
Yes, Doctor, you are on the full
Okay.
screen.
All right. Okay, so I will continue. Thank you for having me today. So again, my title is Beyond Data, Synergizing AI and Humanities for a Sustainable Future. So I think AI is so related to this, so that's why I chose this topic. And also since I'm from DARTIC, Data Management and AI Center in UMS, so I'd like to share my information, my knowledge today to the audience. Okay, this is basically the outline of my presentation. I will start with why beyond data, and I will go through some data analytics processes, and then we'll continue to the role of AI technology and some challenges being faced by us, a human. And then we continue to how we want to synergy AI technology and also science and humanity to go forward. And today I will also share with you some case study, some development at our side in UMS, and some project from my center for the benefit of the audience. And also I will conclude with moving forward. All right. So data. Data is a new gold. Data is considered as the new oil. Everybody loves data. Everybody, the organization that has data, basically they are millionaires. So what is data analytics? So data analytics basically is the feeder, okay, to support decision making. So when we want to do, for example, new policies, government want to come up with a new policies. So we need to analyze the data that we collected. In order for us to came for a new product design, even a new solution, we need to do market survey. We need to analyze our potential customer. And in terms of community development planning, of course, we need to go to the whatever village, if we need new ICT development. So data analytics is very, very important. But for today, why we need to see beyond the data, beyond the numbers? Because the numbers alone, okay, it cannot solve complex problem. Okay, social problem, cultural issue. So it requires more than quantitative insight. So what we need is we need to add human perspective. So that is basically the motivation for my talk for today. All right. So in a nutshell, okay, I think everybody is quite familiar with data analytics phases across the discipline, but I will just share with you. So the phases basically started with data collection, and then we do pre-processing. We want to remove any noise. We need to handle whatever values that is not important. We need to extract important features, and then we do need to select suitable model to analyze our data. So basically for science, maybe we need to apply statistical tests, any simulation. For my field, for example, technology, we will apply machine learning, predictive analytics. And for social science, maybe we will use thematic coding, any regression statistic and whatnot. Okay, so after we have applied the model, we need to interpret our results. Okay, we need to interpret, we need to see beyond the numerical value. What are the insights before we can communicate to our stakeholder? Because if we only present our result in a metric like accuracy, precision, and whatnot, maybe certain audience will not understand. So we need to communicate to them. All right, so we come to the role of AI technology. I think everybody today, we use AI in everyday work, right? Because there are advances in NLP. NLP is basically natural language processing, meaning that the machine understand what humans say regardless of the language. Gen AI is basically a generative AI. The new ones, even though AI has started more than 50 years before, but Gen AI is considered new because it can generate new answers based on your prompt. Different answer will be generated newly based on our prompt. So AI has the ability to analyze a very big data set, bigger than before. Okay, unstructured data, complex data set. So we need AI to move from data processing to understand the meaning and then to get the knowledge. However, okay, at the end of the day, humanities, we human, we still matters. Why? Because not all the insights produced by AI, okay, it might miss some cultural nuances or any ethical consideration. So our job as human is basically to bring together our ethics, our culture, and our values into the technology itself. We need to provide context so that the data that was processed by the AI model to be interpreted responsibly. So the reason behind is basically we want to ensure we are inclusive in the decision making. So instead of that, if we don't include human, maybe there are some cultural issues that will be missed, and we want to also preserve our human dignity. Okay, then next we move to the challenges. Basically, I think if you read many papers, the new research papers also, there are challenges in the technology dimension. We heard about the bias in data and the bias in data in model, in AI model. So basically, what is the bias in data? Because every model is basically trained in a certain domain. So if they are trained solely in that domain, so they are prone to do the decision or to produce the decision based on that data set. So it's considered as a bias. And also the other challenge is on the explainability gap. We as the end users, usually whatever the result produced by the AI tools, we don't understand. Okay, the result often is a black box. We don't understand truly the engine, the brain behind the AI model, except for the researchers lah. Okay, so we are basically having over reliance on the automation process. Whatever that we prompt, okay, suddenly we complete our assignment. Whatever that pre-prompt, oh, okay, suddenly we have the data analytics. But we need not to neglect the human wisdom. So basically when we run our model, we are using very high resources, Okay, so it comes to high energy consumption and some environmental costs that we need to take into consideration if we are moving to the green technology. The other challenge is basically on the human dimension. So we are faced with ethical dilemma. Okay, so the submission for students, for example, you submit your assignment, is it yours? So that is considered as ethical dilemma. Is it fair to say that the image that we use in our paper, in our assignment or project is ours? So we need to be transparent. We need to be sensitive when we are using the technology. And also on the trust and acceptance, humans are still skeptical about how AI will replace human judgment. As an assistant, yes, but to replace our human judgment, it's still ongoing at a certain level. And also another challenge that we need to highlight is on the skill gap. Okay, we need to have digital humanities literacy, meaning that whatever decision, whatever research that we are doing, we need to upgrade our skills to try to understand beyond the black box model of the AI technology that we are using. All right, so next, synergy. We want to integrate everything because at the end of the day, we need to have a sustainable future. So AI technology plus humanity. Together, they will transform the data into wisdom because AI already have a very scalable tools. It's a very scalable tool. It's very efficient. It has a good analytical power. So with us, we can ensure ethical grounding and also cultural alignment. Okay, next, of course, in ethical and social dimension, we need to go beyond accuracy. We need to prevent any bias in the AI system. We need to respect for local tradition and also social dynamic. Okay, I've settled the theoretical part of my presentation. Now I will share with you, okay, the case study that related to this talk. Okay, so basically our research group called LEAD, Language Engineering and Application Development in Sabah, in UMS. Okay, so we have developed a machine translation tool for indigenous language. So the name of our system translation tool is Kadu Malin. Okay, it's a Malay Kadazan Dusun translation tool and also a dictionary. It's an AI-powered tool to preserve endangered language. So a little bit of background. Kadazan Dusun basically is a formal language being taught in primary and also secondary school in Sabah. It's also included in the SPM subject, if I'm not mistaken. So this project basically is under our innovation grant. It already gained, I think, gold, silver medal in our innovation competition. So when we develop this system, basically we include human expert, the teachers, the human that share their knowledge in evaluation of our system, the translation tool. The dataset that we are using, we translate it from the dictionary, and then we get it also from newspapers and also any reference that is related to Kadazan Dusun. So basically this tool try to support cultural sustainability whereby we want to preserve the endangered language in Sabah. All right, let me zoom through. To the system. Okay, for example, my prompt here is, selamat datang ke persidangan I-CReST 2025. Tajuk pembentangan pada hari ini ialah melebihi data, mensinergikan AI dan kemanusiaan untuk masa depan yang mampan. So basically the translated Kadazan Dusun, forgive my pronunciation, I'm not a Sabahan, but I'll try. Kopi sanangan Kino Rikatan Doit Panang Basaran I-CReST 2025. Uhu perbantangan ontok tadabaino noponga kadala data mensinergikan AI om tulun montok timpu du montol I mampan. All right, so if any Sabahan is here, so excuse me. So you can try this, our tools is still up and running. You can scan the QR code and this is the link to our translation tools. So basically this is one of our way to give back to the community. We want to synergize between the AI technology, humanity in order to preserve and give back to the Sabahan community. We also want for those people who are not fluent in Kadazan Dusun, okay, they will learn it using this translation tool. All right, next, the second case study that I want to share this evening is basically from the system, the Kadomalian system. Okay, we also collect some survey and some feedback from the user so that we can understand the cultural sentiment inside. We analyze its feedback, how good in our system, we classify it to positive, neutral, and negative feedback. So this effort is basically we want to improve the user experience through AI solution. We want our youngster to appreciate their role for cultural sustainability. And some issues that we found out when we analyzed the feedback is basically most of the users, they use informal Malay Sabahan slang. So it's not purely Malay text. So it has improper spellings, improper sentiment use by younger generation. Thus, it also affect the translation accuracy. But overall, if you can see here on the positive feedback, it's still a good translator. And then on the negative feedback, basically they're saying about the spelling, the translation, the incorrect ones. And for neutral feedback, basically they love the system, they want some and they want us to improve the user interface and everything else. Okay. All right. So also today I will share some project by my center, that is Darting, whereby we provide services to UMS, basically in data management and also analytics. We develop dashboard for our management. Okay, so we have a system in UMS named Data Warehouse System, where we provide also data intelligence there. We have a dashboard for monitoring data request application UMS because our center, we manage the data, all the data, the student, the staff, the research data in UMS. We have a dashboard for data validation, data completeness, and also we check for data quality before we send for MIMO. Here's the data we send for KPT. Okay, another service that was provided by Dartik. Okay, we have a predictive analytic dashboard, whereby some of the dashboard that we develop, basically KPI maintenance prediction, given 5 years data, we can do another 5 years prediction on the maintenance. And also we have sentiment workload analysis, customer satisfaction survey from our student, from our staff. And then one of the dashboard that we developed for the for decision making on the higher management is UMS student accommodation insight. So basically for this dashboard, okay, basically we want to analyze student accommodation in UMS. So for example, our target is that we want 70% student to live inside the campus. So for example, we have 3 campuses, Kota Kinabalu, Labuan, and also Sandakan. So from the analysis, we can say that, okay, the college Alpha and Beta located in Sandakan and also Labuan doesn't have any bed shortage. So the solution that we pitch to the higher management is to add more beds in campus Kota Kinabalu, because we have extra beds in another campus, but for Kota Kinabalu is not enough. So this is why data analytics is very, very important. We need to see beyond the data itself. We need to provide some insights from there so that we can aid the decision making for the higher management. All right. So, what is our vision for this evening and moving forward? Basically, we want technology to amplify humanity. So, we cannot run away. AI is a tool to assist us, but it is not a replacement for human judgment. Even though we provide insight to the higher management, they still have to take into consideration some ethical issue, some human insight before they can come out for a better decision for the university, for example. And then we need to embed the core values, human, into the analytics so that we can provide a solution that is data informed, ethically sound, culturally sensitive, and also socially inclusive. Okay, moving forward to conclude my presentation for this evening. Okay, we have to move beyond the data toward a sustainable future, a human-centered solution. We need to synergize between AI and humanity, where technology amplify humanity role. Okay, so data gives us information, but humanity gives us the meaning. So together we need to use it to shape a shared sustainable destiny. Okay, with that, I end my presentation for this evening. I can be contacted at this email address. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, very much, Dr. Suraya, for the wonderful, better idea about how can we actually use the AI in a different perspective. That's a very good, say, an idea. Of course, Doctor, I believe a lot of questions among the questions that
Oh,
appear at the moment. They are
okay.
just because whenever it's come to the AI, there will be always something too interesting to learn.
All right.
So let's look about this one. One of the questions is asked, how can AI tools like Kadumalint,
Oh,
let's say,
Kadamani, yeah.
yeah, support the management in the universities?
Okay, so just to share with you, okay, this evening, because I think every university, okay, they have to share their AI initiative at the national level. So just to share, basically, our Kadu Malin system was nominated so under UMS. So it will go bigger from here. Okay, so basically the motivation there, because Kadu Malin, the AI tool, translation tool, is started before MCO actually. Okay, so we go through the process of collecting the data, and then basically we try to help, okay, student who took Kadazan Dusun elective or university subject to use that as a translation tool, and it is free as for now. So the student benefit the most actually, okay, and then for people like me who are not fluent in Kadazan Dusun, basically I will use the translator in a daily to converse actually. But we need to also highlight it's not 100% accurate because the model is still learning. Okay, and then we are competing with the generative AI actually. Okay, you know, also basically our Gen AI, they can talk in Sabahan language. Okay, yeah, Sabahan language. You can train your model, you can customize your model to talk in Sabah language. Okay, but beyond that, I think because our tools, we have human engagement. So we bring together NGO, we bring together domain experts. So ours is like a customized tool compared to the ones that the Gen AI. Okay.
That's that's quite interesting. Yeah. So it helps, and still we are developing the AI models at the higher levels. So that's a key point that I do understand. But doctor, whenever come out with the question about the AI, about the safety, because you are dealing with the data.
Yes.
So how could we say that the safety of the data we are putting and learn into input to the system itself? How safe is the data actually?
Okay, since our center is data management
Yeah,
center, so
that's my
basically
concern.
we need to abide to the Data Protection Act. Basically, all the university data is considered as data sulit.
Mm,
Private, okay, it's a confidential data. So basically, when we say open data, okay, we have open data in Malaysia.
mm-hmm.
Okay, and then considered open data is when it has been confirmed in the parliament. Okay,
Okay.
so whatever that we need to advise our user is not to share your sensitive data wherever you are, because everything that you put online will be locked. Okay, even though you are in your prompt, you provide the data for analysis, for example. I think most researchers are doing that. Okay, so we need to remember that every IDE will be kept.
Yeah.
So we need to have, another encryption level, so that the data that because the data that we post or we put as an input will be used as an input to that model. We need to bear in mind, even though we are saying that open source, whatnot, at the end of the day, everything will be logged online. So we will advise, please be careful. Whatever that you put, try to, encrypt it, or not to just put whatever the unique ID for every data that you put online.
Yeah, that's true, Doctor. I believe
Yes.
because the AI developing very fast, they are growing exponentially, especially
Yes.
yes, they are the development of the technology and everything. That's a concern about the safety is one of the issue as well. Especially when doctor are dealing with the plenty of different data and quite sensitive data is involved as well.
Yes.
Uh,
But we cannot run away from there. Because
yes, Doctor.
if you say that we don't want to upload our data, we are running away from the technology,
Yeah,
actually.
yes,
But we have to use it cautiously. That's
yes.
why.
I
Okay, we
totally
cannot run
agree.
away.
Yeah, totally agree with you,
Yeah.
and I'm sure a lot of things maybe they are interested with your research or your area of experts. Maybe they can contact Dr. Sraya
Yeah.
directly for
Yes, yes.
more, and I believe more collaboration can be done over there. And
All right.
again, Doctor, really thank you for wonderful presentation for this today. So I
Okay.
hope we can meet again for the next sharing sessions. I think I learned a lot from your presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you. Bye. Thank you for those audience are still with me. So we come to our last presenter for these sessions. Okay, we have for these sessions we have a Dr. Jacopo Castaldi. Sorry if I pronounce it wrong. Okay, I'm dealing with a linguistic people person, so that's my concern about it. So we're very glad to have you, Doctor, today from the Center of Language and Linguistics and the Canterbury Christ Church University, United Kingdom. And let me introduce a bit on more detail about Doctor. I believe I have go through your CV. It's an outstanding CV. Of course, you have graduated a PhD in applied linguistics, and I also noticed you have a fellowship program at a higher education academy. And I noticed you are also actively involved in let's say the visiting lecture program, especially from China, Xi'an. That's quite interesting. I noticed on that that's quite strong CV actually, and also you have a plenty of outstanding publications. I would say not only for the locals and of course the international publications with a high impact factors, and also you actively do some presentations and also and talks at the wider range of presentation, local and international. Again, if I list down each of your achievement, I think I need an hour to complete it. So that's how much your achievement have been done. So I believe, Doctor, you have a lot of things to share for today. For today's sessions with your presentations title, Integrating Multimodality and Reception Studies for the Research in the Humanities for the Social Science. So I'm very interested with your topic, Doctor. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Hussain, and thank you, Dr. Camila and colleagues for the invitation to talk at this wonderful event. I believe you might be sharing my PPT.
Yeah, it is projecting, Doctor.
Perfect. Okay, that's amazing. Thank you very much. That's
welcome.
that's amazing. Thank you.
Thank
So, my name is Jacopo Castaldi, and thank you so much, Dr. Hussein, for that introduction. Very, very kind. And today I'll be talking about primarily multimodality, which you may be more or less aware of, and the idea of integrating this with reception studies, which has been an interest of mine for the past 6 years or so. If we can move to the next slide, please. So just to give a brief outline, we'll have 3 parts to this presentation. I'll do a very short introduction to multimodality. I hope that a number of you may be already familiar with some of the ideas behind multimodality, but I will kind of just outline the very kind of basic tenets so that we can all kind of understand the rest of the presentation. Then I'll be focusing on more specifically the integration between multimodality and reception studies, and explain what reception studies actually means and how it can be useful. And then I will suggest some venues, if you like, for research that integrates multimodality and reception studies, particularly for the disciplines in the humanities and social sciences. So if you can move to the next slide, please. And the next one. Okay, so a basic clarification that needs to be made when we approach the idea of multimodality is that there is a difference between what a mode is and what the medium is. So multimodal and multimedia are 2 separate things. Very often in the literature, a mode is defined or is equated to a codified system for making and interpreting meaning in a specific context of use. So it could be, for example, a system of communication such as spoken language or written language, some kind of visuals, images, music, colors, emojis, and so on and so forth. So any kind of system, if you like, of communication that is available to us can be defined as a mode, including things like gestures that I'm doing now, facial expressions, body posture, and so on and so forth. So the same mode can be deployed through different media. For example, spoken language can be used both in face-to-face communication, over the radio, in televised media, and so on and so forth, over a voice message, for example. And also, 2 or more modes can be deployed through the same media. So for example, if we have a newspaper, we'll have both written language and photographs, 2 different modes within the same medium. Or again, we can have spoken language, music, and moving images in films or video recordings of different kinds, YouTube, for example, videos and so on. So that's an initial clear differentiation that needs to be made. Next slide, please. And the approach to multimodality that I'm working from, and one which is quite popular, so to speak, is the social semiotic approach to multimodality. And this kind of approach was initiated by primarily by I-CReST and Van Leeuwen back in the end of the 1980s, beginning of the 1990s. And what they did, they came from the Hallidayan School of Linguistics, which was a type of linguistics that looked at how language is used for social purposes, so how language is used in real world contexts, and expanded it from the study of language alone to the study of different modes of communication. And there are, again, certain kind of principles, so to speak, certain assumptions behind this approach to multimodality. One being, for example, that the science and their materiality are neither global nor ahistorical, meaning that depending on different periods of time, depending on different geographical areas and possibly different societies and cultures, certain modes, certain means of communication may have different meanings or even not exist at all. And that also takes us into the last point on that slide, which is the idea that science and their materiality are always motivated. So they write material qualities inherent in material substances, but they are then transformed. They are socially reproduced. They are too controlled in a form of control which is ultimately control over meaning and over social values, which may rest with individual or with large and powerful institutions. So with this particular approach to multimodality, there's a social and therefore critical element as well, which I think is very much of interest to everyone working particularly within the humanities and the social sciences. Next slide, please. And just to give a brief idea of what a mode looks like, now this is a very heavily linguistic-based definition of a mode, but it's, as you can see in the yellow, the first stratum is the material substrate, so what the mode is actually made of. So if we think about written language, then the actual signs of letters or symbols would be the material substrate of written language. Then the blue circle refers to the way in which these single units, so think about letters in a language or idioms in an idiomatic language, are then put together to form sentences, closes sentences, and texts. The semiotic resources, the third stratum, refers to potential metafunctional constructs, which is again something which is borrowed from systemic functional linguistics, and refers to the idea that every bit of communication will have three different metafunctions: the ideational, the interpersonal, and the textual. And finally, there's a stratum of discourse semantics, which is what makes all the combinations that we have discussed below actually meaningful and interpretable in specific communicative contexts. Next slide, please. And if we look more specifically at the idea of semiotic resources, which is the third stratum, then this can be further divided into four areas: the discursive resources, the pragmatic ones, the stylistic ones, and the textual ones. And the reason why this can be useful, we will see in the last part of the presentation. But these semiotic resources then can be basically defined as abstract, potential metafunctional constructs that can be realized through different materialities and or different semiotic codes within our modes. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're going to be now moving on to the idea of reception studies. So what is it that we're talking about here? And quite basically, the idea is that multimodality, being a form to begin with of analyzing artifacts, texts, has always been very heavily text-based. So people would analyze newspapers, they would analyze films, they would analyze documentaries, but always focusing on the actual products. Now, reception studies moves the attention onto the recipients of those products and kind of tries to understand what actually happens at the interpretation stage of the communicative process. Next slide, please. Now, in a recently published special issue in Visual Communication, which I guest edited, I suggested that there are four broad approaches to reception studies. We have experimental studies, recontextualization studies, engagement studies, and audience research. So we'll have now a look at what each of these types of reception studies does and what it is good for and maybe not so good for. And if we can move to the next slide, we start with the experimental studies. So here the aims are to investigate people's live engagement with texts. And the focus is predominantly on the sensory and perceptual aspects of interpreting, of engaging with a text of any kind. So in terms of procedures, in this kind of empirical studies, very often a text is shown to a group of participants, and the participants are wearing some kind of psychophysiological measuring device, eye tracking devices are very common, or electronic skin sensors. So the actual biological reactions during the engagement with a video, a newspaper, or whatever it is that they're looking at can be actually measured by these machines. So the strengths obviously are that we have precise quantifiable measurements, for example, of gaze, of scanning paths, attention, and so on. The weaknesses is that the levels of comprehension and interpretation of the text becomes a bit more difficult to investigate. But lately, people have used mixed methodological approaches where not only they had this kind of psychophysiological devices, but also more qualitative instruments such as interviews, think aloud protocols, knowledge tests, so that the levels of comprehension and interpretation could also be looked at. And I've put here, and I'm very happy for the organizers to share the slides if people are interested in that. I put here a number of studies that basically use this kind of approach. So if people are interested in seeing how is this done, they can refer to some of these studies. Next slide, please. The second type of reception studies is what called recontextualization studies. And here the aim is to investigate people's comprehension and interpretation of whatever text, whatever artifact it is that they are engaging with. So predominantly here we're looking at the semiotic aspects, the meaning making and meaning interpretation aspects of the process. And very often in terms of procedure, again, the researcher would choose some kind of text and show it to a group of participants, and then investigate their reactions through how they recount and evaluate what they saw and read. In terms of strengths, the researchers got greater control over the texts and discourses because obviously the researcher chose what the participants had to look at. There is greater control over the participant interaction because of the kind of research settings, and it's also easier to carry out quantitatively if, for example, one uses questionnaires of some kind with the participants. In terms of weaknesses, because it is the researcher putting the participants in a room, then it is rather artificial. So it may not really reflect what actually happens in the real world when people interact with certain media and modes. Participants have no agency over what they are watching or what they are looking at, what they're reading, what they're listening to. So again, there is valuable background analytical data that is missing. And there is also the risk of greater researcher bias, because obviously the researcher choosing what to show may somehow have a very clear agenda in mind, so to speak. And again, you got a bunch of publications there over the last 20 years and more, looking at this kind of type of studies. Next slide, please. Engagement studies are the third type. Again, they are similar to the previous ones in the sense they aim to investigate people's comprehension and interpretation, and they are predominantly semiotic. But here, and unlike the previous type, the researchers analyze traces of genuine user interaction with existing texts and media. For example, very often people look at comments or reaction videos, commentaries, and so on and so forth, that people have genuinely and spontaneously created online. The strength here, again, there's again greater control over the text and discourses because the researcher can choose whatever it is that they want to focus on. But this time it's also less artificial because people would have, for example, commented on a YouTube video or commented on a newspaper article, and the researcher can go and look at those genuine, spontaneous comments over the text that they're looking at, right? So in this case, participants have agency. And again, because you're looking at comments, reactions, and possibly big metadata, it is also easy to carry out quantitatively. There is, in terms of weakness, there is limited control over the interaction. So obviously you can't really manipulate, so to speak, the environment, the research environment, but there are possibilities for digital ethnographic approaches, obviously, that can be done here. And again, there are limited opportunities to explore the user's ideologies or the cognitive processes at play, because you're only looking at one point of their engagement, the point of reaction. You don't know anything about what came before interacting with a particular text. And again, you have some examples there. And finally, next slide. The last type is what I've called audience research studies. And this is very similar to what we've seen so far, with the main difference that here the participants actually choose the text they interact with, and it's also done in some kind of research environment. So there is more control over the research data creation. So it's less artificial because people choose whatever they want to watch and do it possibly whenever, however they want to do it. So participants have agency, and because you can talk to the participants before they engage with something, there is also an element of exploring a person's ideology and if you like, background knowledge before they interact with a specific text and after they've done so. In terms of weaknesses, there is limited control over the participants' interaction because you're letting them do it. You don't know how they're doing it, whether they're actually doing it, in full, or whether they're distracted while they're doing it, and so on and so forth. There's also limited control over which texts and discourses are chosen by the participants. It is more time consuming, and it's definitely more qualitative in kind, so it's more difficult to quantify. And this is actually some of the work that I've been doing myself in discourse analysis, and then there's a lot of work in media studies. Now, if we move on to the final part of the presentation and pull this together, next slide, please. Sorry, so just to summarize the main findings from existing research between multimodality and interpretation, reception studies, there are both what we call bottom-up processes, so processes that are driven by the text themselves, and we can see that there are elements that have been very well studied by research, such as composition, salience, the way in which different modes work together to achieve a certain purpose, and how different senses as well create some specific representations of meanings. And again, there's many studies there that you can look at, and there are in the references. But there are also top-down processes, the individual-driven one. Holsanova, for example, who worked with eye tracking technology, summarized that as such: the task or goal of the text examination, previous knowledge and expertise, expectations, emotions and attitudes, apart from viewer characteristics, even the context in which texts are displayed, perceived and interpreted plays a role. So it is very unlikely that two individuals will react exactly in the same way to the same text, which is why it is important to understand that there is a different element, a different set of processes at play. But there are also similarities, as I've shown, for example, in my monograph, where certain pragmatic expectations were connected to choosing a specific genre, or the kind of text that were chosen aligned with the existing ideologies of the participants, and so on and so forth. If we move quickly into the final part, next slide, please, and the next slide again. So I kind of suggesting three areas. Can you move to the previous slide? Sorry. Perfect. Three main areas. The first one is investigating which semiotic resources and metafunctions individual modes can actualize. So here the focus is on the material affordances of the individual modes, and some research questions could be: what semiotic resources can individual modes actualize given the media available? What metafunctions can individual modes perform given the media available? And to what extent and why do these differ depending on context and media? Or the second area of research, next slide, please, could be investigating the relationship between different modes actualizing the same semiotic resources and metafunctions. So for example, how do different modes contribute to creating narratives in a particular text, which would be the discursive domain? Or how do different modes contribute to the use of argumentative communicative acts, which would be the pragmatic domain, and so on and so forth. And again, how does this depend on context and different media? And finally, the third point, next slide, is investigating the contribution of individual modes to perform the three meta-function of ideational, interpersonal, and textual. So what ideational, interpersonal, and textual meta-functions are performed in a specific context, what semiotic resources are used, and how do modes contribute to perform them. And again, how does this change depending on different contexts and media? So to summarize, and that's the final slide, next one, please. In conclusion, there is a widespread acknowledgement that communication occurs almost exclusively multimodally. And multimodal research has been used both theoretically and empirically in a variety of disciplines for over 20 years, but more empirical research is necessary, especially, I would argue, including this reception studies element. Empirical research has provided evidence that an awareness of how multimodal communication works in different settings is beneficial to both text producers and text receivers. So when we're talking about, for example, media literacy, critical media awareness, that's where this kind of work becomes also very valuable. And finally, the kind of social semiotic, semic functional linguistic approach can be useful to provide more precise empirical studies in this particular area. Thank you so much. Next slide, I think, is the references, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for the presentations. It's really interesting. Actually, Doctor, my background is science fields. Then after I listened to this presentation, I think I need to learn more on this particular area. That's a quite complex terms and everything. But nevertheless, you're interesting. I think a lot of questions coming in. I think a few that really catch my interest, I would like to ask over here. Gonna be the question from this one. Can multimodality can be used for the set school of the thought? Like example, John Rawls in the Justice, or John Austin of the Postings, and also other sociologists. So anything on that?
So can you just repeat the beginning of the question?
Can the multimodality can be used for set of the school of thought?
Oh, different schools of thought.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, multimodality has been used. It's a very easy thing to use in very different disciplines, because whichever discipline you're interested in, whether it's like, you know, more humanities, like, you know, literature studies or similar, or media studies, communication science, or sociology, the idea is that there is always some kind of communication going on. There's also always some kind of ways in which knowledge is exchanged, or information is exchanged, or values and emotions are exchanged. So multimodality gives you the opportunity to look at how that happens in some more detail. So absolutely, it's very much applied across the board. If people look, for example, at the special issue in visual communication, they will see there are contributions from people that work in communication science, people that work in pedagogy and education, people who work in linguistics and discourse studies like myself. So there's really a breadth of disciplines that make use of multimodal research and theory.
Okay, Doctor. I think that's answer clearly for the person, the audience that asked the questions. There's one more question as well, Doctor. Does the recontextualization study can be used to somewhat analyzing more older political views? Maybe they are asking about the Soviet Unions and also ancient civilizations ideologies.
Yes, but more than analyzing the ideologies themselves, the kind of studies that I'm talking about are useful to analyze what people make of those ideologies, so to speak. So, for example, if I was simply interested in looking at the ideology of an ancient civilization, I would look at some of the texts that they wrote and look at, for example, the values and ideologies that were embedded within it. Now, the reception study element, the recontextualization type, would then take that text, show it to a number of people, and see what those people understand about the ideology of that ancient civilization. So it's two slightly different levels of understanding. The multimodal textual level gives us access to the producer views, values, ideologies. The reception study element, and recontextualization could be one of the types used here, gives us access to what people make of those texts and ideologies, whether or not they can see the same values, for example, as us as analysts. So it gives us a different perspective on whatever it is that we're analyzing.
Okay, Doctor, I do understand on that. I think a lot of them are they are putting a lot of questions on your. I think they are really interested in your area of research, Doctor. And one of the another question is actually about how do you see the multimodality influencing the future research in communications or education in general, Doctor?
Yeah, that's a great question, especially in view, in light of AI and how AI is changing all those aspects: communication, education, pedagogy. I think what people in multimodality hope multimodality can do is provide people who use any kind of media, whether it's like more traditional media or AI generated media, in a more conscious way, so that they can understand better what is beneficial about using certain technology, for example, in education or communication, or certain ways of using it, and what is not beneficial. And the same on the receiver end. So to create some kind of, I didn't mention briefly, some kind of critical media literacy amongst people, so that when they engage with AI generated content, or when they engage with social media content, they have more of an understanding of what it is that's actually being sold to them, and maybe be more aware of what can be truthful or less truthful, fake news, and so on and so forth. So I think there's a very big role that multimodality can play in providing a more precise way of analyzing the kind of media that we use for communicating with each other.
Thank you, Doctor. I think that's answered clearly about the question that's been asked, and thank you again for your question and answer session, Doctor, for today. Okay, I really appreciate really for these knowledgeable sessions. So that's for the end of the session, Doctor, today.
Thank you again for your invitation. Thank you very much. And my email is there if anybody wants to get in touch for further questions. I'll be more than happy to engage with them.
Yes, definitely, Doctor. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of our sessions. I would like to thank all guests and participants for participating in this conference. We hope that this conference has become a good platform for researcher, academicians, and industrial players to broadcast and disseminate their valuable knowledge in their respective field. Knowledge shares indeed will be the useful and beneficial to all. Till we meet again in the future for the future conference, stay safe and thank you. Take care. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, as the saying goes, all good things must eventually come to an end. With that, It's my greatest honor to invite Yang Berbahagia Professor Datuk Technologist Dr. Shahrin bin Sahib, Vice Chancellor of University Technology Mara UiTM Malaysia, to officially officiate the closing ceremony of the International Conference on Research and Practices in Science, Technology and Social Sciences, I-CReST 2025. Please join me in welcoming Yang Berbahagia Professor Datuk Technologist Dr. Shahrin bin Sahib.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yang berusaha Profesor Dr. Haji Zulkhairi Haji Amom, Director, Center of Foundation Studies UiTM, honorable speakers and I-CReST 2025 participants, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Warm greetings to everyone. Alhamdulillah, praise the Almighty for the abundant blessings that have brought us together for the 5th International Conference on Research and Practices in Science, Technology and Social Sciences, I-CReST 2025 closing ceremony. Selamat datang and a warm welcome to all esteemed guests and participants. Thank you for your valued presence and contribution to this academic event. I am deeply honored to have the opportunity to speak to you today in conjunction with I-CReST 2025, which have brought together dedicated participants and esteemed academicians from across disciplines and countries under one platform. Allow me to extend my warmest congratulations to the organizing committee from the Center of Foundation Studies UiTM for their unwavering dedication and for successfully executing a seamless and engaging virtual event. Ladies and gentlemen, as we embrace digital transformation, the need to center human values in our technological pursuits has never been more critical. Acknowledging this, the conference this year is guided by the theme, Synergy for Future Sustainability, Bridging Science, Technology and Humanities, which encompasses diverse areas of interest, namely physical sciences, biological sciences, information technology, engineering, mathematics, social sciences, and humanities. I-CReST 2025 have provided a vibrant virtual platform for cross-disciplinary dialogue and knowledge sharing, exploring how innovation can foster smart and more inclusive societies. From cutting-edge research to practical solutions for sustainable living, the conference has showcased the power of science and technology when guided by empathy, ethics, and social responsibility. Concurrently, this conference aligns with UiTM's vision to become a global leader in science, technology, and humanities, thereby fostering innovation that benefits the broader community. Additionally, this aligns with UiTM's mission of advancing education, research, and innovation for global sustainability, which is the overarching theme of the conference. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to see the participants of esteemed speakers and young researchers from around the world. This is indeed indicative of a thriving global knowledge ecosystem. Despite the distance between us, this virtual setting has shown that the exchange of ideas knows no borders. Our scholarly discourses have bridged not only disciplines, but also continents. Prioritizing knowledge, discipline, trust, diligence, and responsibility as personal values, we are reminded that while technology connects us, it is our shared purpose and humanity that unite us. Moreover, as we continue to navigate the complexity of IR 4.0, let us not lose sight of the importance of inclusive and human-centered innovation. The future demands that we move forward together, where digital advancement serve to empower all segments of society, not deepen existing divides. Therefore, I call upon academia, industry, policymakers, and community to collaborate meaningfully. Let us build smart societies grounded in equity, sustainability, and integrity. Let the connection forged and ideas exchanged throughout this virtual conference become catalysts for long-term partnership and collective growth. On that note, I once again extend my warmest congratulations to the organizing team and everyone who contributed to the success of I-CReST 2025 event. I also wish to thank the presenters, participants, moderators, and partners for their commitment, presence, and active engagement, which made this event meaningful and memorable. We look forward to welcoming you, hopefully both virtually and in person, at I-CReST 2027 as we pursue our ongoing mission to foster a smarter, more connected world. Without further ado, with the sacred word of Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I now officially close the 5th International Conference on Research and Practices in Science, Technology, and Social Sciences 2025. Thank you very much. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Yang Berbahagia Professor Datuk Technologies Dr. Shahrin bin Sahib, for your inspiring address and for gracing us with your presence at this closing ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now arrived at the moment we have all been waiting for, the announcement of the Best Presenter Awards. Before that, on behalf of the organizers, I would like to extend our heartfelt appreciation to all participants for your outstanding submissions, dedication, and contributions throughout this conference. And now, without further delay, it's my privilege to announce the winners of the Best Presenter Awards. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now arrived at the moment we have all been waiting for, the announcement of the Best Presenter Awards. Before that, on behalf of the organizers, I would like to extend our heartfelt appreciation to all participants for your outstanding submissions, dedication, and contributions throughout this conference. And now, without further delay, it's my privilege to announce the winners of the Best Presenter Awards. The award is divided into two main categories, Social Sciences and Science and Technology. Let us begin with the Social Sciences category. Our first recipient is from presentation number 080052, titled From Screen to Classroom, Student Perceptions of Asynchronous Teaching and Learning Physics at Foundation Level. Please join me in congratulating Mrs. Habibah Usop alias Yusuf. Our second recipient in this category is from presentation number 106070, titled Engaging the Next Generation, Gamified Approaches to Citizen Participation in Urban Public Space Design in Japan. The award goes to Dr. Satoshi Ishida. Moving on to the Science and Technology category. The first award recipient is from presentation number 130096, titled Biodiversity of Apocrita Hymenoptera in Bunting Oil Palm Plantations, a Study of Species Richness and Abundance. Congratulations to Mrs. Nur Hafizah binti Muhammad Zazi. Our final award recipient is from presentation number 037014, titled Effect of Oil Concentration and Dripping Distance on the Flaxseed Ginger Oil Alginate Beads Properties. Please give a big round of applause to Dr. Shaikah Muhammad Rus. Once again, our warmest congratulations to all award recipients for their remarkable achievements. With that, we officially reached the conclusion of I-CReST 2025. On behalf of the organizing committee, we sincerely thank you for your participation, support, and invaluable contributions that have made this conference a success. We look forward to welcoming you again at next year's I-CReST. Until then, stay inspired and keep striving for excellence.